In our lesson today, we talk about radical equations, and we've been working with radicals recently. Remind me, what does the word radical mean? So square roots, cubed roots, we're really just talking about square roots right now. But now we need things with square roots in them that are equations. So things on both sides with an equal sign between them, and somewhere in there, there's a square root sign. So here's one. It's an equation. I have something equals something else, so it's an equation. And there's a square root sign in there. The first thing that I want to do is to isolate the radical. That means I want to get square root all by itself equals. So for this one, I need to add the 2 to both sides so that I have the square root of x plus 1 equals how much? Equals 8. So everybody comfortable with that? Okay, how do we undo taking a square root? Try it. So to undo the square root, I want to square it. So that means that I am going to square it, but I can't just square the square root. I have to square both sides. So I'm going to take this side and square it, this side and square it. Square undoes square root, and I have x plus 1 equals 64. Now you guys better know what to do. Bella, what do we do? So we subtract the 1 on both sides. So whatever is left to do to solve it for our variable. So we subtract the 1, and x is 63. However, anytime you have a square root equation, there's one more required step. You don't get credit if you leave this off. It is to check it. And we check it in the original equation. Whatever was printed on your test paper, whatever we changed one to on a problem set and we printed, or whatever's printed in the book. Sometimes when you go from the book to the first thing you write down, you've already done one step. Don't check at the top line of your paper. Check at the original printed equation. So we're going to come back up here, and we're going to do the square root of 63 plus 1 and then minus 2, and we are hoping that that equals 6. So square root of 64 is how much? 8 minus 2, is that 6? And then we always put a check mark to show yes, it worked. So anybody with a question on that example? A couple more examples. So what did I say was the first step? So we need to get square root equals. So square root x plus 5. And to do that, I'm going to subtract 1 on each side. So what does it need to equal on both sides? Negative 12. And what do we do? Then we're going to square both sides. So we have x plus 5. What's negative 12 times negative 12? So 144. And then we need to solve it. So what does x need to be? 139, but then we need to check it. And so we put 139 in there, plus 5, plus 1, and we want to see if that equals negative 11. And notice I came back here to the original, not to what I first wrote down on the board. That means we are looking at square root of 144 plus 1. What's root 144, everybody? What's 12 plus 1? 13, is that equal to negative 11? So that means no solution. We didn't get anything that worked. Now, let's make some sense out of that one. When I got the square root by itself, I have a square root equals a negative. Can this symbol ever mean a negative number? It would have had to have had a minus sign in front of it to ever be a negative number. So that's what messed it up in there. But usually we don't stop and think about that, or it's not something obvious when we get one that doesn't work. That's why you must check your solutions to get credit. All right, one more example, and then you guys get to practice some. Okay, how do I start? Anna. So square root x squared plus 3x minus 10 is, oh, this is weird, x minus 2. So far, so good? Okay, it's weird, but what did we say our next step is? Square both sides. So we are going to square both sides, which means square undoes the square root. So the left is just x squared plus 3x minus 10. But the right is x minus 2 times x minus 2. Some of you have memorized the shortcut, but when you have this, it's x squared, and then 2 times what you get when you multiply these. So 2 times negative 2 times x minus 4x, and then minus 2 times minus 2 is plus 4. If you want to make sure you're getting it right, FOIL it out, x squared minus 2x minus another 2x, minus 2 is plus 4. Okay, now we need to solve it. So give me some help with solving it. Austin, what are you noticing? Yeah, I've got x squared on both sides. So basically, if I subtract x squared on both sides, those go away. Now I need to get all of my x's together. So let's add 4x to both sides. And we have 7x. And let's get the constants on the right side. Let's add 10 to both sides. If 7x is 14, what does x need to be? So am I done? X is my solution. All's good? What do I need to do, Hendricks? We've got to check it still. And we don't check it with something I wrote down. We go back to the very original up here. So I am going to say 2 squared plus 3 times 2 minus 10, and take the square root of that, plus 2, and see if I get 2. So let's see. 4 plus 6 minus 10. What's 4 plus 6 minus 10? What's the square root of 0? So 0 plus 2, is that 2? So it worked. So we get to keep that as our solution. Jonas. You might get one where the only way to solve it is with some factoring. You might get everything on one side equals 0, and then you can solve by factoring. You use whatever kind of equation you end up with. You use any tools you've already learned to solve that kind of an equation. Good thinking of how to put different things together that you've learned.